Thanks for joining us at the end of the school day. I know it's exam times. Whether you're joining live or if you're joining us via our recording on our YouTube channel, thank you for joining us. Today, as you know, it is about manufacturing. This is our third webinar out of our series of 3 this year, which was proudly sponsored by the Department of Education, Victoria. And yes, we are focusing on manufacturing today. I love talking about manufacturing. Those of you who've met me previously, when I'm talking to students, you know, I just talk about the fact that manufacturing touches every single part of our life. From the laptop that I'm using right now, to the mouse that I'm using, to my phone, to my pen, my pencil, everything has been made and has been manufactured somewhere. And it's changing. It's an industry that is changing really fast. It's becoming cleaner, greener, smarter. It's more human-centered. There's design, there's robotics, you know, there's engineers, there's technicians, innovators and thinkers. We're all working side by side in this industry. Yet women still make up less than a third of this entire workforce. And if we drill down to actual skill trades, that percentage is even less. We're talking about around 3%. So that means we are missing out on a lot of enormous potential, creativity, collaboration, and leadership that could drive innovation in this industry forward. So what we're hoping is, by encouraging young women and gender diverse students with your help to see themselves in this space, in this industry, we're not just helping fill in the skills gap, we're shaping a more, you know, inclusive, resilient, and future-ready industry. So today, with insights from our panel of experts, we're going to explore how the sector is evolving, what pathways exist from schools to apprenticeships, and how educators like you can help your students find their place in this fantastic and exciting industry. So before we move on, it's really important for us to, in the spirit of reconciliation, to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia. I'm coming to you from the land of the Wurundjeri people, and I'd like to acknowledge their connection to land, sea, and community. We extend our respect to their elders past, present, and emerging, and we'd like to welcome all First Nations people who join us today. So the plan for today is we are going to touch back on the PERMA concept, which you as educators use day in, day out in your classrooms. And just, you know, I'm going to share a couple of photos again with you. Then we have our fantastic panel of experts. So we have Susie, who is the Early Careers Recruitment and Development Lead at Alstom Group. We will have Irene, who is the HR Manager at Bostec. And we'll also have Karen, who is from the Australian Manufacturing Workers Union and is working in the Women in Trades and Tech project. We will have time for Q&A at the end, but if you do think of any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box, and we can absolutely answer those as we go along as well. Okay. So moving on to the PERMA concept, you know, everything we do with Empowered Women in Trades with EWIT, it's all based on, you know, the well-being, the positive psychology and well-being theory. So we always look at what is positive emotion and how it's linking to what we're doing, how we're in the flow, what sort of engagement do we have, whether we're running a program for young people or adults, what sort of relationships are we building with our audience and our partners and our village. You've heard us talk about our village quite a lot. What sort of work are we doing? Is it providing meaning and purpose and fulfillment to our day-to-day life, and what is the sense of achievement? And as you know, when we look at these things as a whole, that gives us more purpose and more engagement, regardless of whether it's adults or young people. So going to our photos and pictures that I like to show you every time, I'm going to show you, this was actually a session that we ran for careers teachers. This was last year. Some of you might be in here, where we took some of the teachers to Ringwood Training, which is NATIO, and we looked at their engineering faculty. So we looked at how you design something. You can see the digital image there, how the machine then cuts it. And then we've got some teachers filing the rough edges there of that metal piece of work. Just from the smiles, you'll be able to see you know, we're talking about engagement and positive emotions. Here, the teachers are being the students. So I thought that was quite a lot of fun for the teachers. This is a group of students we took to the Coca-Cola manufacturing facility in Moorabbin, where they got to see firsthand what happens behind the scenes in the factory where one of these is made. Lots of fun, and we've got a group of young women here you can see who were taking part in our talk and tour days. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a second as well. And doing just lots of amazing stuff in terms of welding and just having great fun. So again, for me personally, looking back at these photos, I love looking at them because it reminds me of what we do. So I'm going to move on to Susie. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. There you go. And I'm going to introduce Susie to you. So Susie, come on out.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Great, great. And I know in the meantime, whilst we were talking, Irene from Bostik has joined us as well, and we'll talk to Irene next as well. So feel free to just turn your camera off for now, Irene, and I will come to you after Susie. So Susie, tell us about what you do, who Alstom are, and I guess, you know, referring to what we were talking about earlier, our audience here is their teachers, their pathway teachers, educators. What can they do to find, you know, I guess to link industry, what they're teaching in class to industry like yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jazz, and thanks for the opportunity to join you all, and for those of you for attending. So my name's Susie, and I'm the Early Careers Lead at Alstom ANZ. So my role is a national one. I'm based in Melbourne, and I oversee all of our student programs, our graduate recruitment, our student recruitment, which I'll go into a little bit. I do have a few slides, and kind of external partnerships, university and school outreach, amongst other things. So anything that sort of is about, you know, those junior people and junior candidates entering the workforce, and also our engagement with those cohorts to encourage more participation in, I guess, rail, the transport sector, engineering, manufacturing, so on and so forth. So I will share a pack. So I'll assume maybe some of you on the call might not have heard of Alstom before. Maybe you have. I think, you know, once you sort of have a look at some of the slides at who we are and what we do, you'll definitely be familiar with our projects and what it is that we do. But I know the brand isn't always that familiar for people. Certainly when I joined Alstom, I didn't really know a huge amount about them, coming from Queensland myself. But actually we've got quite a large sort of footprint across Australia, and lots of opportunities for young people. So I'll get my slides up and I'll just go. Alrighty, so Jazz, you give me the all clear if you can see
Yep,
my
I
screen,
can
and I'll
see
put
that.
it into present mode for you all. And I'll just give you a little bit of an overview of Alstom. I won't harp on too much about the company, and I'm certainly not, you know, the technical expert on the nuts and bolts and the ins and outs of what they're doing out on site, but I can give you an overview for sure. So we are a global leader in rail mobility. So Alstom has a kind of end-to-end comprehensive portfolio, and we're, I think, Australia's only kind of end-to-end rolling stock manufacturer, where we've got, as you can see in that like little wheel there, a whole host of kind of things that we offer to market and service our customers with. So, you know, our bread and butter, if you like, is that rolling stock piece, manufacturing rolling stock. So that's urban rolling stock and mainline, components and signalling. So signallings are a separate part of the business that is really looking at the digital and integrated systems. So that's kind of a, you know, really, I don't love blue collar versus white collar terminology, but it's more of that white collar sort of workforce, lots of engineers in there, cybersecurity, that kind of thing. IT infrastructure, services. So services is a really chunky part of our business, which goes hand in hand, I guess, with the rolling stock. We, you know, build and manufacture rolling stock, and then it goes into sort of a services contract after that, where we're actually maintaining the rolling stock for, 10, 20 years in the future. So those are just a bit of an idea as to our portfolio as a rail company. Lots of different teams that exist within the three main product lines, lots of different roles, and I think it's probably, more, I think, exciting and a bit more glamorous than probably what we all think rail is if we don't know a huge amount about the industry and what goes on. And in terms of our, a bit of our footprint here, we're about 2,600 employees in Australia and New Zealand. We've got 58 different nationalities, so we're an extremely diverse workforce. In terms of our age distribution, you can see where our average age is 43 years young. So, we don't have a huge kind of population at the moment of that sort of younger, Generation Z, if you like, workforce, but it is growing. Average tenure, 5.7 years.
See you, legend. Have a lovely night.
Oh, sorry. If we don't mind all going on mute, please.
Sorry, I think this is Teams has done something fun today. Normally all the attendees are muted, but
That's all right. All
James,
good.
for some reason your mic is, even though it shows me that you're muted, it's picking up everything you say. So if you don't mind, just
My
have a
apologies,
quick look
everybody.
at that. Thank you.
No worries at all. And just on the left-hand side here, you can see there when we look at kind of our gender split across the workforce, we report on sort of manager and above population, and at the moment we're about 21% women in those manager and above roles. So we have a way to go. We have a lot of work to do, and we're very committed to growing, those sort of, or rather diversifying the workforce and that gender split. If we look at our early careers workforce, actually in the last 24 months, we're leaps and bounds ahead. Our last graduate intake was 53% women, and that was an intake of predominantly, engineering students. So that's really pleasing. So we certainly are shifting the dial and encouraging more, a more diverse workforce from that junior stage to consider a career in rail. Just a quick snapshot of our reach and some of our projects. I won't go into detail here, but you can just see we're pretty spread far and wide. We've got operations in Brisbane and the Gold Coast. These are the actual sort of trains and light rail that are Alstom's. Well, that's actually QR, but we are maintaining those trains. Sydney, if anybody's been to Sydney and been on the Sydney Metro, that's a pretty awesome train to get on. It's like the London Underground. It's our first driverless train in Australia. Super exciting and a great one, I guess, to share with young people who absolutely love, the idea of this extremely slick driverless train that's sort of taking over Sydney. So that's really, really awesome. And the Sydney Light Rail. And then, of course, down here in Victoria, I'll go through a couple of those projects as well. So at the moment, we've got a big project, which is next generation trams. So we're manufacturing as we speak out at Dandenong in our manufacturing site, 100 new trams that will be due to hit the network. With that comes a 15-year sort of maintenance contract as well. So big chunky piece of work. You can only imagine, the number of people that are working on these projects. We do have a lot of kind of local workforce commitments that we also are striving to achieve, and that's really around offering these sorts of opportunities to local candidates. So whether that be apprenticeships, traineeships, cadetships, graduate roles, we've got lots of kind of workforce commitments that we do aim to meet to ensure that we've got that sort of lovely diverse workforce working on these trams. Extrapolis as well. So, hopefully these are all super recognisable to you now. This is out at Ballarat, our other main manufacturing site here in Victoria. So 25 new trains and they've got, a lot of enhanced accessibility, really improved efficiency. So that's what's going on out at Ballarat. Velocity rolling stock, 39 new trains, so that brings our velocity fleet up to 118. Manufactured in Dandenong, again, looking at those local workforce commitments. So this is another really big chunky piece of work that's been going on at Dandenong that we have a lot of our young people supporting on and part of the project. And then that's just a bit around our main rolling stock industrial sites in Australia. And, you know, you can just see there in Dandenong, we've got about 600 people, 600 headcount out there. Ballarat, about 80. And then over in Bellevue in WA, 120. So there's lots of opportunity at Alstom for mobility, which is something I would highlight, particularly when I'm sort of out at schools or universities. I like to remind students of this, is that you don't have to be pigeonholed into one career or one location if you were interested in travel or some internal mobility. Once you arrive at a company, there's always those sorts of opportunities at companies such as Alstom, where it's encouraged to take those opportunities if they're there, and we see a lot of it also globally. In terms of our student pathways, so our entry-level roles at Alstom, so typically they're involving really hands-on technical or operational work that's sort of offset with some soft skill learning as well, suitable for students or recent graduates with vocational training or technical diplomas. We've got our graduate program, so that's for students who are studying an undergraduate degree and are working towards a tertiary qualification. So on our graduate program, we are looking at predominantly engineering degrees and skill set, but there's also that is getting a bit more, I guess, broad as we move through, and we've got supply chain, business, finance, amongst other kind of technical degrees, so it's getting a little bit more diverse. We offer apprenticeships and traineeships, of course, so fabulous on-the-job training in areas such as mechanical, electrical, systems maintenance. The roles do vary by the region and the business need, and there's a whole host of different roles that people could be doing: maintenance tech, warehouse, stores person, material handler. We've got internships and cadetships as well for students. So if you have students that are looking to enter through that university pathway, this would be a full-time placement as part of their studies. So they would come out of their degree and do a placement with an organisation. Summer work or casual employment, so that's maybe just shorter stints, shorter term placements for students. And then school work experience, so that's really kind of picking up for Alstom and probably other organisations similar to us. School outreach is definitely a focus point. We want to engage with students from an earlier stage so that they do understand the opportunities available to them and how their skills might align to that work. And I think it's really important that we highlight that to them when they're a little bit earlier in their journey, and then they're kind of making those decisions as they move through school. Recently, we've actually hosted a schoolwork experience here in Victoria called Engineering Her Future, and that was with two local schools. It was an all sort of female work experience program, and they were with us for 5 days, going around to the different sites that we have here. They did 3D printing. They had a signalling lab tour. They were mentored by our current graduates, and then they did sort of little presentations back at the end of the week. So that was a fabulous week, and I hope to kind of emulate that again. It was really, really great. But those sorts of opportunities, we really relish and are grateful for, because we get to, just showcase really those opportunities to students who might not have considered it before or might not know anything about the industry to start with. So I think that's all. That's just showing where we kind of are, boasting there that Alstom are at the top there of the industry rank. But that's all my slides, so I might just stop sharing so I can see.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Susie. It's
Yes,
a lot
no
of information.
problem. Yes, I hope that wasn't too much and digestible, but as I said, I'm not the tech expert, so I'm sure I kept it pretty
You
high
are the
level.
people, you are the people expert though. But this is exactly what these webinars are designed to do, is to showcase the type of opportunities that are available to our young people that we just don't think about. You know, we catch trains, we catch trams all the time, but not often do we think about, oh, who actually has made this? And
Yeah.
all the different pathways that are available. So that last
Absolutely.
slide in particular, I thought that was quite fantastic. And I'm sure teachers always ask this, is at the end, can we have access to those slides? So if you're okay, I would love to send that out at the end when the recordings get sent out to
Sure.
everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and I love that the Engineering Her work experience program, again, it just shows, you know, our educators that companies like Alstom, global brands, are investing in diversity in their teams, within their teams, are investing in young people. When your average age is 43 years old, yeah, you're investing in the future talent, which is fantastic for any teacher, any educator to hear.
Absolutely, yes.
So thank you for that.
Sure.
Audience, if you have any questions, please, like I said, feel free to put them on the chat or wait till the end. Absolutely no problems at all. Susie, if you don't mind hanging around for a little bit longer in case somebody has questions later on.
I can stay on.
So someone called B Len, I think you've got your hand up. If you'd like to just put your question in the chat, that
And I
will
can maybe
be,
respond
or in the
while somebody
QA
else.
section, that will be amazing. And we'll come back to it if we don't get a chance to have a chat now anyway. But with that, I would like to now introduce Irene from Bostik. If you would like to come on out, Irene. How are you?
I am great, Jasmine. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, I wonder how many of us actually know what Bostik is. Does anybody want to put in the chat for us what Bostik is? Anybody heard of Bostik before? Let's see what we come back with. We may have someone who's heard of Bostik, we may not. I just thought, oh yeah, it's glue and it's blue tack, but it's a bit more than that, isn't it, Irene?
It is. It is.
Yeah. So I'm going to hand over to you to talk about what Bostik do. And again, I guess, Kaz, well done. Construction adhesives. There you go. And talk about what you do, and particularly in relation to, again, trying to get more women and gender diverse people into your workforce as well.
So with that, I'm going to share my screen. Give me a second.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'll put that into presentation mode.
Yep.
I hope you can see my screen.
I will let you know. I can see your screen. I'll just see when the presentation mode comes up. Can't see that yet. So it's still showing your desktop.
Just showing my desktop. Ooh.
That's okay. These things happen. Happy to just go along with that, Irene, if you like.
Okay, let's just go along with this. Just a little bit of introduction about Bostik. So we are actually the subsidiary of a French multinational company called Arkema, and we are present in 55 countries around the world with a total headcount of about 21,000 headcounts. And our presence is in Australia across 3 major sites. So we have a plant in Thomastown, and we have a plant in Kings Park up in Sydney. But we have offices, our head office is based in South Bank, and we do have representative offices in WA as well as in Queensland. So our people are spread out mostly in sales across 3 states outside of Victoria and New South Wales, which is in WA, South Australia, as well as in Queensland. Within our facilities as well, we do host R&D research centers, and globally we are about 13 R&D centers throughout the world, as you can see in the map there. So this is Bostik being, I guess, the arm of Arkema that deals with industrial adhesive. So what Karen mentioned earlier about construction adhesive is very correct. I'd like to offer you some industry insights. Let's see if I can move the slide. Okay. Sorry. I think I've got the... If I can just try to swap my screen, let me try to reshare my screen.
That's okay, joys of technology. When it works, it's great.
Yes. Let's see this one.
Perfect. We can see that now. Thanks, Irene.
It's good. But I just need to swap my screen. Okay, let's do this. So just to give you some industry insight about the global adhesive and sealant markets worldwide, we are targeted to grow another 37% in the next 5 to 10 years. And that's, when we talk about that, it's like in USD, it's about $116 million projected by Fortune Business by the year 2032. So when we put that into perspective, APAC as a region is growing very, I guess, aggressively, because we have a very strong, what we call very strong market in terms of like construction and sorry, I just need to pull up my notes. Okay, so we are growing very strongly, driven by construction and growth in automotive as well as packaging and electronics sector. And that is the primary drivers of growth that is, propelling the market. Now, what are the major trends that are shaping the industry? So with the major trends, we are talking about, consumers wanting sustainability to play a part in the products that they buy, green chemistry. And with that, Bostik has responded into, I guess, building products or coming up with products that are bio-based and therefore more friendly to the environment. We are no longer talking about, products that have like chemical base or petroleum base as we move towards bio-based. We have also improved our technologies in terms of, coming up with more lightweight products. And also, digitalization and automation also plays an important part with all the products that we are doing. So with our plant in Thomastown, we are moving more and more towards automating processes, introducing digitalization so that, we can improve productivity. And then, we are also talking about, R&D, where we go into high performance formulation, I guess, improve processes, and therefore coming up with better and innovative products. So when we talk about that, next, what with that industry, against that industry insights, what is the practical advice for our students in terms of looking for skills and opportunities within companies like Bostik? So because Bostik is a manufacturing entity, all the roles that we talk about, from the shop floor and all the associate and supporting roles. So we're talking about roles like operators that operate machines. We're talking about, more blue collar or labor intensive roles that are like, driving forklifts to move products, raw materials, and the sort. And we're talking about all the supporting functions to make sure that the processes flow through smoothly. So we're talking about the supply chain. We're talking about, sales team. We're talking about customer service. We're talking about finance. We're talking about R&D, and we're talking about, management and even HR. So where do students come in within our organization? Just this year alone, we have introduced various programs. So, for example, we have had a whole raft of internship opportunities for students across multiple functions and departments. So we have students coming in as interns in our supply chain team, within finance, within HR, within marketing. And some of these have translated into Bostik offering the students graduate roles to kick off their career. Also, in the coming weeks, we are also offering our work placement students coming in to do, this is at a uni level, so students are coming in to do work placement with our organization. We are going to kick that off with the HR department, but this will grow eventually in the future, depending on requests as well. Next year, what we have on our agenda is actually offering work placement students to year 10s. And I think this is also a great way for students to come in and look at the various activities that we do, at our labs, within R&D, within quality, within training, product training, and all the various areas of work that are available at Bostik here. So some of the practical advice that I would offer to students is, to build your skills, find an area that you are interested in. It can be more, I guess, hands-on roles, and some of them can be more analytical and skills-based roles. So find where your skills lay, your interest lays, and try to overlap that. And then find out what are the opportunities available, I guess, through, even forums like this. And then work out a way how to stand out, in terms of your resume preparation, preparation for not only, doing your resume, but interview practices, find mentors, people who are willing to help you and coach you and all of that. And I guess it's through also avenues like this that you actually find opportunities in the market. And so with that, I will move to questions. And I think this is another way of asking, if you have any questions, what are you curious about?
Love it. Thank you so much, Irene. And just whilst our teachers think about what questions they might have, I love the fact that, you touched on, we've been talking about manufacturing with yourself and with Susie, two different organizations. Still, we're talking in manufacturing, but we've talked about automation, we've talked about green chemistry, we've talked about sustainability, we've talked about roles from entry-level roles and, warehouse clerks, stock, to forklift drivers, to engineering, to R&D. The scope is incredible, all related to products or services that we use every single day. And again, this is where, we can link the two together. And you talked about curiosity, Irene, is actually, I loved asking the students, just ask everything: why, how, what, where. I'm holding a bottle of Coca-Cola here that I showed earlier. We took students to the manufacturing facility in Coca-Cola. Well, so we talked about where this bottle is made, where the cap is made, where the drink is made. And now, Bostik, you make the glue that sticks this label. Is that right? So you make the glue that sticks this label to the Coca-Cola bottle.
That is
So
correct.
just in here, we have got two large global organizations, and then probably Alstom moved some of the stock as well for us, right? So I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you. If you don't mind as well, just hanging around in case there are some questions coming up. That leads us on to introducing Kaz. So Kaz, if you want to come on out, put your microphone on and your camera on. And you are actually linking our two panelists, Alstom and Bostik, together because we're running a couple of programs in the next few days and few weeks that we will talk about. So if you just want to let us know, Kaz, what your job is, what are you doing at the moment?
I've come on board at the AMW only a couple of months ago to be a project officer for their Women in Trades and Technology. So we were fortunate enough, one of my colleagues won a Commonwealth Government grant for $5 million for us to run a program in conjunction with their Building Women's Careers initiative. So we're running the Breaking Barriers project. It's quite an extensive project. So our main aim is to get more women in trades. So the
Simple as
harsh
that,
cold
right?
reality.
It's as simple as that.
It's as simple as that. So the harsh cold reality really is that, you know, considering we make up 50% of the workforce, allegedly, we only have there's basically 13% of women that make up trades. I believe the number is. 13% of women who, I've got to find
Within
the
the
right page.
manufacturing. Yeah, no,
Within
that's
manufacturing,
fine.
sorry, yeah. And 2.9% of that is actually represent trades. I believe out of that 2.9%, 2% are fitters. That's my trade. So I'm a fitter and turner by trade. I've been working in my trade with the qualification for just over 20 years. Prior to that, I worked in a lot of manufacturing jobs. I did a lot of machine operating because I have a really high mechanical aptitude. And having worked in manufacturing has actually helped me with some of my work that I do as you know, being trade qualified. One of the common things that I heard, even working as a machine operator, a lot of women, and unfortunately a lot of people that come from ethnic and cultural backgrounds, weren't afforded the opportunity to become machine operators. I believe the consensus was around that, oh, you know, surely you can't be smart enough to do this, or surely you can't be strong enough to do this. I think I kind of broke the mold on that one. But our project, so we're doing a lot of work around sexual and gender diversity within companies. We're running programs in conjunction with EWIT and TWA. So TWA is another one of our partners. We do work within companies with making sure that they are adhering to some of the new codes that have come in within the last few years. The main one being the Positive Duty Act. Now, the Positive Duty Act is what is being used to shift from dealing with something after it's happened, like sexual harassment or gender harassment, bullying, and any type of bullying. So companies usually are doing that reactive stuff with that, but the positive duty has been put in place as a preventative measure, because for far too many decades they've been doing it the other way and it's clearly not working. So we're going in and working with companies to try and make sure that their workplace culture is what we consider to be the gold standard, and every company should be aiming for the gold standard.
And that's fantastic, Kaz. So it's, I guess, for our audience, you know, it's great for you to know that there are supports like, you know, Kaz's role at the ANWU, where we're doing positive things. And as you said, you're being proactive rather than reactive, which
Well,
is
prevention
fantastic.
is
So
always
Kaz,
better than the cure.
tell us a bit more about your job. So when you say fitter and turner, not many people know that, especially young people don't know what that is. So explain to me what that is.
So fitter and turner, we're similar to a mechanic, but different. Mechanics work solely on engines, whereas as a fitter, especially so I'm a fitter and turner, so I've had a lot of training and I have skills in machining. So I know how to use lathes, leveling machines, borers, aligners, and basically what we do with that is we take a plate of steel or a solid piece of metal and we turn it into parts. So gears, bosses, flanges, shafts, all that sort of thing. And fitters, we do all sorts of things from stripping and rebuilding cylinders, stripping down hydraulic pumps. We do all the stuff that mechanics don't do. I mean, I've still stripped and rebuilt engines, but that's sort of my own home stuff. But within a workshop, diesel fitters and mechanics do that work, whereas as fitters, we assemble things. So a large machine that has sub-assemblies, we build the whole machine from those assemblies. And somewhere along the line, some other fitter has put that assembly together. So when you think of things like, I worked on a project with Komatsu probably about 6 or 7 years ago. I did a project contract with them building 930E haul trucks, and they're massive. They're really, really large. So we get a certain amount of sub-assemblies in basically, and we feed them. Some of the assemblies we put together on site because they can't be done off site because of the size of them. And you work in groups and teams to get the job done, because sometimes a job requires 2 or 3 people to work on the same piece.
Amazing. Amazing. Sounds like a lot of fun. So, Kaz, if
I think it's fun.
we've got obviously teachers here on the call that are either listening in or watching the recording, or they might be playing this back in their classrooms for their students. What sort of attributes would teachers be looking for, a young Kaz? What sort of things were you interested in when you were in school in year 8, year 9, year 10?
Maths and science.
Mhm.
I'm a big fan of physics, because when it comes to engineering and physics go hand in hand. You pretty much can't have one without the other. And someone that likes getting hands-on. Like, I enjoyed metal shop. I love woodworking. I enjoyed technical drawing. I mean, realistically, it's about having a good attitude. I've found pretty much with most apprentices, like apprentices that I have had the absolute pleasure to work with, you don't need to know the trade. You just need to have a willingness and a drive to want to learn. I can't teach someone a good attitude, but I can certainly teach them the trade. And we all know that there's many trades out there, because we know one shoe doesn't fit every foot. But I think the other issue is with a lot of females is they don't know that it's actually an option. I know back in my day, a lot of the girls were sort of pushed towards doing home economics, not doing woodwork and metalwork. I mean, even back then, year 8, we were sort of forced into doing a bit of home ec and a bit of, woodworking and metalworking, and then you're sort of left to your own devices to choose your subjects. I was still the only female doing woodworking and tech drawing and all that, I knew it was a possibility because I grew up working with my father in his truck business, working on the vehicles. So it wasn't a foreign concept to me, but I know through the years of talking to a lot of young women that they don't even know that being a boilermaker or being a fitter or being a hydraulic fitter is an actual option. I knew that engineering was an option because the high school that I went to had some amazing women come through and talk about different trades and skills. I always thought that maybe a mechanic was my only option, but when this wonderful woman came in and started talking about engineering pathways, I was like, wow, I could do that. Like that sounds like something that I would be interested in. But I don't know these days how many schools do those sort of presentations and get people like myself and other female trades to come in and actually talk to the students about, you know, you can be a plumber, you can be an electrician, you can be a boilermaker. So I think
Perfect.
knowledge
You
and
know, we talk.
education is a good start.
Yeah, absolutely, Kaz. And we talk about this all the time. You know, you can't be what you can't see, and representation does absolutely matter, which is why we do the work we do with the help of people like you and Alstom and Boltstick and all our partners. And I know the schools are very keen on getting ambassadors in front of their students. And I guess what you've just reiterated is how important that is to put those options in front of our young people so that they can see those options. So
Absolutely.
thank you for that. Last question before I open it up to the audience. What's the best part of your job? What did you love the most? What really just excites you the
What
most about it?
about my trade? I love my trade. If I didn't love it, I wouldn't have done it for more than 20 years.
What
Fixing
do you love the
stuff,
most?
finding like problem solving, troubleshooting, like when you walk up to something and there's a problem with it, you know, you talk to the operator or whoever the driver or whatever, and you find out what it's doing, what it's not doing, and then you sort of it's like solving a mystery. So it's about going through and working out and breaking it down into what it isn't to find out what it is,
Perfect.
and then being able to actually fix it. So it's that
Amazing.
whole journey stuff from start to finish.
Yeah.
And then when you fix it, they drive off and it's like, well, did my job.
Amazing. Thank you, Kaz, for sharing those insights. Susie and Karen, if you'd like to come back out, and if there are any other questions from the audience, please feel free to put them on the chat or the Q&A. Any other questions? I know there's a little bit of conversation happening. Susie, you might be heading out to Wodonga by the sounds of it. That's exciting.
Love to receive invites, and
Yeah.
we can certainly see what we can do to support.
Awesome, awesome. Just whilst we're waiting to see if there's any questions, you know, we talked about the work that Kaz is doing with the AMWU as part of the Building Women's Careers federal project. So we actually have these talk and tours running in collaboration with our corporate partners and AMWU. So the next one is actually tomorrow. Obviously, this is a bit late for some of the schools that are on here online, but it's just to show that these opportunities do come up. So, for example, the site that Alstom have in Ballarat, they are hosting a tour. So we call it a talk and tour of a small group of students, female students from local schools, to come in and have a look at the facility. The smells, the sounds, the noise, it's all part of that awareness. It's all part of opening that door to see what actually happens in here when you're making a train, as well as talking about the different pathways that are available. And then the students are then going off to the Ballarat group training site and they're actually going to do some hands-on activities. They're going to do some welding as well, which is really cool. So that's actually happening tomorrow. It's not over and done with. We are going to be running more of these next year and possibly the year after that, along with Alstom and AMWU. And then next week, I will just change my slides if I can. Not letting me, but hang on 2 seconds. There you go. Next week, we are then off to Thomastown, the facility that Irene was talking about, to the Bostik facility and seeing what happens there. So we talked about the glue and the stuff that's made there. We're actually going to see how it's done. And again, look at the different pathways, look at the different jobs that are there. So if any of the teachers that are here that are close to that area around Thomastown, this would be a great one for any of your school leavers. To kind of, come and have a look because there will be some opportunities to do some courses at Kangan, in terms of fabrication, etc. next year as well. So we run quite a few of these type of programs. Every so often, please connect with us on our socials, follow us on LinkedIn or our Instagram, Facebook. All of these programs are on there so that you can offer those up to your students or school leavers if you have any as well. So that was just a little plug in terms of what we are doing. So any other questions? Anything else that you wanted to, yes, Kaz, you wanted to say something?
I don't know whether you know or not, Jazz, but the APA group talk and tour that was done up here.
Yep.
One of the young ladies she's participating in our welding short course.
Fantastic.
She has actually interviewed with them since the talk and tour for an apprenticeship next year.
Fantastic. Amazing.
So
That's a great success
these talk and
story.
tours are good because they actually get to see it, because you're not really sure what you're going to be doing until you actually see it for yourself. And she's keen, really keen, but obviously they're really keen to have her come in as well, possibly. So I've got my fingers crossed for her, waiting to hear to see whether she's been approved for their intake for next year. So I think that's
Amazing.
wonderful.
They're the type of success stories we love. It's not for everyone, as we said earlier, but unless you see, you don't know. Unless you try, you don't know. And this is what these programs are designed to do. And with the help of our partners, so Alstom are opening their doors up, Bostik are opening their doors up. It's important for us to know that large organizations and small organizations are invested in increasing diversity and inclusivity in their businesses, and they're actually taking action. It's not just talk, it is actually action. So that's fantastic. Susie, did you want to say anything else before we finish up?
No, I don't think so. I think it's all covered, but it's, yeah, lovely to connect with everyone, and do reach out, if there's anything that we can do to sort of partner together or share more info. We will have another talk and tour, as you said, Jazz, at our Dandenong site, likely in the new year, probably February onwards. So maybe just keep an eye out for that one, because that will be another opportunity to have maybe up to 20 students coming along.
Beautiful. Irene, did you want to say anything before we finish up?
No, just an invitation to the teachers that if you have any students that are interested to learn more about opportunities with Bostik, so we're opening up our work placement program for the year 10s next year. So just reach out and we'll tee up something.
Amazing. You're going to get 1 million emails, Irene. That is fantastic. Kaz, Susie and Irene, thank you so much for sharing your invaluable time with us and giving us insights into your industry, your trade, and what you're doing in this space. Teachers, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to us, join in. Feel free to show this recording to your students and connect with us if you need any further information. I am going to say goodbye and hope you all have a fantastic rest of the evening. Thank you very much, team.
Thank you.